Utsuro-bune, hollow boat, also Utsuro-fune and Urobune, was an unknown object that allegedly washed ashore in 1803 in Hitachi province on the eastern coast of Japan. Utsuro means hollow and bune, from fune, means boat. Accounts of the incident appear in four texts: Oushuku Zakki, 1815, Toen Shōsetsu, 1825, Hyōryū Kishū, 1835, and Ume-no-chiri, 1844. According to the legend, a young woman aged between 18 and 20 arrived aboard the hollow boat on February 22, 1803. Fishermen brought her inland, but she was unable to communicate in Japanese. The fishermen returned her and her vessel to the sea, and it drifted away. Historians, ethnologists, and physicists such as Kazuo Tanaka and Yanagita Kunio have discussed the legend as part of a long-standing tradition within Japanese folklore. Certain ufologists have claimed that the story is evidence of a close encounter with extraterrestrial life. The best-known versions of the legend are found in four texts. 1. Oushuku Zakki, Miscellaneous Notes from the Nightingale Inn, written by Komei Norimura around 1815. 2. Toen Shōsetsu, Tales from the Rabbit Garden, compiled in 1825 by Kyakuti Bacon. The manuscript is today on display at the Mukyukai Toshikan in Machida, Tokyo Prefecture. 3. Hyōryū Kishū, Diaries and Stories of Castaways, written in 1835 by an unknown author. It is today on display at the library of Tenri University in Tenri City, Nara Prefecture. 4. Ume-no-chiri, Dust of the Plum, written in 1844 by Nagahashi Matajiro. It is today on display at the Iwase Bunko Toshikan, a private library in Nara City. Toen Shōsetsu contains the most detailed version of the story. On February 22, 1803, fishermen on the Hiraidori coast of Hitachi province saw a strange vessel drifting in the sea. They towed the vessel to land and discovered that it was 3.30 meters, 10.83 feet, high and 5.45 meters, 17.88 feet, wide. Its shape reminded them of a koro, Japanese incense burner. Its upper part appeared to be made of red lacquered rosewood, while the lower part was covered with metal plates. The upper part had several windows made of glass or crystal, covered with bars and clogged with some kind of tree resin. The shape of the hollow boat resembled a wooden rice pit. The windows were completely transparent and the baffled fishermen looked inside. The inner side of the Utsuro-bune was decorated with texts written in an unknown language. Oddly enough, one of the symbols inside the vessel resembled South Korea's current flag. The fishermen found items inside such as 2 bed sheets, a bottle filled with 3.6 liters of water, some cake, and kneaded meat. Then the fishermen saw a young woman, possibly 18 or 20 years old. Her body size was said to be 1.5 meters, 4.92 feet. The woman had red hair and eyebrows, the hair elongated by artificial white extensions. The extensions could have been made of white fur or thin, white powdered textile streaks. This hairstyle cannot be found in any literature. The skin of the lady was a very pale pink color. She wore long and smooth clothes of unknown fabrics. The woman began speaking, but no one understood her. She did not seem to understand the fishermen either, so no one could ask her about her origin. Although the mysterious woman appeared friendly and courteous, she acted oddly, for she always clutched a rectangular box made of pale material and around 0.6 m, 24 in size. The woman did not allow anyone to touch the box, no matter how kindly or pressingly the witnesses asked. An old man from the village theorized, this woman could be a princess of a foreign realm, who married at her homeland. But when she had an affair with a townsman after marriage, it caused a scandal and the lover was killed for punishment. The princess was banned from home, for she enjoyed lots of sympathy, so she escaped the death penalty. Instead, she might have been exposed in that Utsuro-bune to leave her to destiny. If this should be correct, the box may contain the head of the woman's deceased lover. In the past, a very similar object with a woman was washed ashore on a close-by beach. During that incident, A small board with a pinned head was found. The content of the box could therefore be the same, which would certainly explain why she protects it so much. It would cost lots of money and time to investigate the woman and her boat. Since it seems to be tradition to expose those boats at sea, the townspeople thought they should bring the woman back to the Utsuro-bune and let her drift away. The townspeople were frightened. In a different version, the lady from the hollow boat stays where she landed and grows to old age. The fishermen reassembled the Utsuro-bune, placed the woman in it, and set it to drift away into the ocean. From human sight it might be cruel, but it seems to be her predetermined destiny. On March 24, 1803, at the beach of Haruto no Hama, in the Hitachi province, a strange boat was washed ashore. It reminded the witnesses of a rice cooking pot. Around its middle it had a thickened rim. It was also coated with black paint and it had 4 little windows on 4 sides. The windows had bars and they were clogged with tree resin. The lower part of the boat was protected by brazen plates which looked to be made of iron of the highest Western quality. The height of the boat was 3.33 meters 10.83 feet and its breadth was 5.41 meters 17.75 feet. A woman of 20 years was found in the boat. Her body size was 1.5 meters 4.92 feet and her skin was as white as snow. The long hair dangled smoothly down along her back. The dress of the woman was of unknown style and no one could recognize it. She spoke an unknown language. She held a small box no one was allowed to touch. Inside the boat 2 unusually soft carpets of unknown style and fabric were found. There were supplies such as cake, kneaded food, and meat. A beautifully decorated cup with ornaments no one could identify was also found. There are several further documents about Utsuro-bune sightings in Japan. For example, Hirokatazi Wahitsu describes an Utsuro-bune docking at Toyohashi in May of the 11th year of Genroku, 1698. The incident is described as follows: there is only one woman in the boat. It seems that she was sent back to Nagasaki because she could not understand the language and, Oushuku Zakki, the investigation started in 1844, and continued in 1925, and 1962. In 2010 and 2012, 2 rare ink printings were found and investigated by Kazuo Tanaka. In 1977, they contained stories about Utsuro-bune with very similar content to that of the Hyōryū Kishū. Further, they claim a different location for the events, Minato Bashu, Harbor of Bashu. A well-known Japanese legend is that of the origin of the Kono clan of the Iyo province. In the 7th century, a fisherman named Wakeguro, from Gogo Island found a 13-year-old girl inside an Utsuro-bune drifting at sea. He brought her to land, where she told him that she was the daughter of the Chinese emperor and that she had been forced to flee to escape her stepmother. The fisherman named her Wakeheim, Princess Wake, and raised her, before she married an imperial prince of Iyo province and gave birth to a son named Okamiko, the ancestor of the Kono clan. A part of this folk tale held that she was responsible for bringing the first silk cocoons to Japan. Princess Wake is still worshipped at the Funakoshi Wakeheim Shinto shrine in the village of Funakoshi on Gogo Island. Yet another legend that shares a lot of similarities with the story about Wakeheim is the legend of the Golden Princess, Kanjiki-heim, of which there are several variations. But the common element is that a fisherman finds a girl set adrift in a boat, who explains that she is a princess from India. She repays the kindness of the fisherman and his wife, bestowing on them the secrets of Seri culture. The first historical investigations of the Utsuro-bune incident were conducted in 1844 by Hyōryū Bacon, 1767–1848. Hyōryū reports about a book called Rashia Bunkanroku, Records of Seen and Heard Things from Russia, written by Kanamori Kinkan. The book describes traditional Russian clothes and hairstyles and mentions a popular method to dust hair with white powder. It also mentions that many Russian women have natural red hair and that they wear skirts, similar to that of the lady of the legend. The accounts in the book are most likely based on the experiences of Daikokuya Kodeu. This was a hair fashion that would have been common in 1782 to 1792 when Kodeu visited Russia. however it would have been extremely unusual and outdated by the year 1803. Based upon the book, Kyakuti suggests that the woman of the Utsuro-bune incident could have been of Russian origin. He writes that the stories are similar to each other, as they differ only in minor descriptions. For example, one document says 3.6 liters of water, another says 36 liters of water. He also questions the origin of the alleged exotic symbols found in and on the boat. Because he is convinced that he saw similar signs on a British whaler stranded shortly before his writing, Kyakuti wonders if the woman was a Russian, British, or even American princess. Furthermore, he expresses his disappointment about the drawings of the Utsuro-bune, because they obviously do not fully match the witness descriptions. Further investigations of the Utsuro-bune incident were done in 1925 and in 1962 by ethnologist and historian Yanagita Kunio. He points out that circular boats were not unusual in Japan, see for example Tarai-bune, only the Western-like details, such as the windows made of glass and the brazen protective plates, make the Utsuro-bune look exotic. He also found out that most legends similar to that of the Utsuro-bune sound alike. Someone finds a strange girl or young woman inside a circular boat and rescues the stranded or sends her back to the ocean. Yanagita also points out that the eldest versions of Utsuro-bune describe humble, circular, and open log boats without any dome atop. Yanagita assumes that the details of the brazen plates and windows made of glass or crystal were added because skeptics would question the seaworthiness of a humble log boat on the high seas. A steel-reinforced Utsuro-bune with glass windows would more easily survive travel on the ocean than an open, unreinforced wooden boat would. Dr. Kazuo Tanaka, Japanese professor for computer and electronics engineering from Gifu University at Tokyo, investigated the original scripts in 1997. He considers the popular comparisons of the Utsuro-bune with modern UFO sightings to be far-fetched. He points out that the Utsuro-bune of the legends never flies or moves on its own, nor does it show any signs of extraordinary technologies. It simply drifts motionless on the water. Tanaka concludes that the tale of the Utsuro-bune was a literary mixture of folklore and imaginations. He bases his assumptions on the 1925 investigations of Yanagita Kunio. The peculiar European appearance of the woman, the upper part of the Utsuro-bune and the unknown writings lead Tanaka and Yanagita to the conclusion that the whole story was based on the historical circumstance that people of the Edo period totally encapsulated Japan against the outer world. To bedizen a stranded woman with European attributes showed how much the peoples were afraid of bad cultural influences from the Western world, especially North America and Great Britain. The story of the Utsuro-bune is significantly constructed in a way that makes the tale sound incredible at one sight, but self-explaining at the same time. The woman and her craft are sent away so no one could ever consult her personally. Furthermore, Tanaka and Yanagita point out that the people of Edo period shared great interests in paranormal things such as yurei, onibi, hitodama, and yokai, so it would not be surprising to find stories of exotic boats like the Utsuro-bune. Tanaka also points out that the word Utsuro means empty or abandoned and that the word Utsubo means quiver and describes the bags in which hunters and archers once carried their arrows. But both words also describe old, hollowed tree trunks and branch holes of sacred trees. The word fune/bune simply means boat. Altogether, the term Utsuro-bune means hollow ship. In modern Japanese parlance the term means cargo. Dr. Tanaka himself found out that the locations Haruta-no-hama and Hiraidori are fictitious. He assumes that in order to make the anecdote sound credible, the author designated the beaches as personal acreage of a daimyo named Ogasawara Nagashige. This daimyo actually lived during the Edo period, but his acreages were placed at Heartland and it seems sure that Ogasawara never had any contact with the fishermen of the Pacific coast. The Ogasawara clan served the famous Tokugawa clan, who held power over the most northeastern part of Japan until 1868 and their main acreages were placed in the Hitachi province, geographically very close to the eastern beaches. Tanaka finds it very odd that no incident of such alleged importance was commented on in the curatorial documents, since strangers leaving the shore had to be reported at once. But the only remarkable incident during the late Tokugawa clan happened in 1824, when a British whaler was stranded at the northeastern coast of the Hitachi district. Tanaka also found out that, during the rulership of the Tokugawa clan, the Ogasawara family and the Tokugawa started mapping their territories and acreages. And both names of Haruta-no-hama and Hiraidori are missing. They also do not appear on the maps of the first complete mappings of the whole of Japan in 1907. If the name of a village, city, or place had changed in history, this would have been noted in some curatorial documents, but it is not. Tanaka thinks it rather unlikely that important places such as Haruta-no-hama and Hiraidori actually could have been forgotten in records. In his conclusions, Tanaka points to the difficulty in the correct reading of the place names. In modern transcriptions, the kanji have to be read as Harisha. But in Toen Shōsetsu the signs are written in kana and they have to be read as Haraudori. In Ume-no-chiri they are written in furigana, making the place to be named as Haruta-no-hama. Alternatively, the kanji for Harutono could be read as Haraudori. According to Tanaka's investigations, the transcription of in the Hyōryū Kishū as Harisha-hama is therefore a typo based on a misreading and should originally be read as Harutono-hama. Thus, all writings describe the same place. On May 26, 2014, the Ibaragi Shimbun, reported that Tanaka found Junichi Kawakami's paleography, J.A. Komanjo, regarding the Utsuro-bune strange story, Utsuro-bune, where the place name is given as Hitachi Hara-shiri-hama. This corresponds to today's Shiri-hama beach in Hasake, Kamasu City, and is mentioned in a coast survey in 1801 and in Dai Nihon Enkai Yakai Zenzu, J.A. Maps of Japan's Coastal Area, by Ino Tadataka. In ufology, the legend of the Utsuro-bune has been described as an early case of a documented close encounter of the third kind based on the similarities between the drawings of the vessel from the Edo period and 20th century descriptions of flying saucers. Some ufologists suggest the Utsuro-bune could have been an unidentified submerged object, UFO. They note the mysterious symbols which were reportedly found on the object that regularly appear as addenda within the depictions. They are suggested by some to be similar to the symbols reported from the Rendlesham Forest incident in England. Drawings of odd figures and unknown symbols have also been found in caves. UFO proponents further point to the woman's box, her physical appearance and unusual dress as evidence of off-world human visitation. The box that the woman, according to the accounts, carried and refused to let anyone else handle or open shares some similarities with the Gihobako box carried by wandering Maiko and Itako. These boxes would usually contain magic objects, but it's also believed that in pre-modern times these boxes contained human skulls. This would tie in with one of the eyewitness accounts speculating on the contents of the box that it could contain the head of the woman's deceased lover, as they processed the mystery of the woman through their own Japanese cultural lens. In Japanese culture, red hair was connected to demons and European foreigners, red-haired barbarians. The woman's hair being described as red therefore further signifies her otherness. In 1803, when this incident is said to have taken place, the Dutch were the only European foreigners allowed to enter Japan, in a limited capacity, which meant that Dutchmen could visit the country, but Dutch women were forbidden to enter the country under the Tokugawa shogunate's Sakoku policy, which kept Japan extremely secluded. Tanaka nevertheless speculates that the Utsuro-bune might have been a shipwreck of a European vessel and the mysterious woman was a passenger, and that it became tied in with earlier Utsuro-bune legends. In Hokuto City, Ibaraki Prefecture, a playground was built based on the illustration of the Utsuro-bune. In 2017, Mori Art Museum held an exhibition called The Universe and Art, where visitor could view an Utsuro-bune historical document. Manjudo, the strange boat drifted ashore on fief of Lord Ogasawara. The venue also had Swiss manufacturer SIG to create gift items for them, one of the items being a donbari rice bowl in the shape of the Utsuro-bune, and when you remove the lid you find the figure of the mysterious woman inside. In 2023, an exhibition about the Utsuro-bune called Fushigi Yugai Utsuro-bune, Mysterious World of the Utsuro-bune, was showcased in Mito, Ibaraka Prefecture at the Joyo City History and Folklore Museum. Visitors were able to view historical documents as well as depictions of the Utsuro-bune created by ceramic artists.